All right, welcome everybody to our Buddy Study Group Worksite edition today. Gretchen and I will be taking over today's from Jason, who's still on his well-deserved vacation. We'll have to hear about that next week, um, his travels. But really excited. We picked a topic today that we thought would be near and dear to everyone's heart, which is actually going through some case studies. And this is going to be designed as more of an open-ended session. One of the things we wanted to accomplish was going through the group process a little bit so you can see how we put together proposals. We're actually going to be releasing some new templates in the marketing section of the Buddy System portal. So you can actually take our template proposals, edit them, and present them to clients or present them to agents yourself. And also we have a special guest speaker today, Linda Tallheimer, who you may know, who's done a lot of presentations on the individual study group. She's graciously offered to share her experience with one of her recent group enrollments that we're doing together. So thanks, Linda, for giving us your insights there as well. So Gretchen, where do you think we should start off? Any particular areas you want me to just jump into it? You're still on mute though.
Start. You did tell me to unmute myself, so I think you should start at the beginning.
In the beginning, okay.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that I think about is prospecting, right? How do we find opportunities? I think Karen, you and I spoke quite a bit about this is you're in the individual market, where are you finding the opportunities to offer this to groups? And I would say probably like every product that we offer, we start by looking at our natural networks, right? Our friends and family, our local community. And for me, I've always thought about the group products to be an alternative to what we're doing on the individual side, but also complementary to it. And it sounds like a contradiction, but I don't see it as that. I see that the group market is filling gaps that the individual market may not support as well. So one of the gaps that I see is affordable coverage that's easy to access and kind of a starter plan for folks out there. On the individual side, it's really hard to buy kind of a small amount of coverage and to do that economically, and you have to go through that underwriting process. So we tend to see those products being offered to that upper middle market and above. The average premiums tend to be higher in terms of the starting points. On the group side, I think it opens up the market much more to the middle market. So one of the targets prospects we've offered this to start off with is our own employees. So I'm going to start off with a case study that we're actually enrolling Buddy employees in the group products. So if Gretchen is okay if I use us as a case study?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay.
Although you're calling me middle market.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
That's
imply that.
okay. I just had to give you a hard time. That's
Yeah,
okay.
let's call it as a starter plan. The nice thing about it is you have the ability to get as comprehensive coverage as you want from there too. So this is where, to your point, Gretchen, the group market and the individual markets really complement each other. You can buy a group product to start with, and because they don't coordinate benefits, you can add individual coverage to that product if you want to get something more high end, like yourself, because you're not that type of client. Or in certain situations, like we have with the group carriers, you can buy simplified issue coverage on the group side as well. And especially in California now, because we have this 5% rider with Allstate, you can also get more comprehensive coverage. So let's go through, and like I said, I'm going to use Buddy as an example, and I'm going to start where we always recommend starting is with Product Buddy. So really there's three sales tools on the group side that really lead our process. Product Buddy, which is kind of to find like an initial concept based on your state, based on your number of employees. Quick Quote, which is what we use to kind of sharpen the pencil to understand the value proposition and get a little bit deeper in terms of employer funding. And then the census quote, where you can pull in the dates of birth from the census and you can do a multi-life quote for employer funding. So let me start by selecting our state. So we're in California.
Can I just add before you get started on
Sure.
this? everybody who uses the tools uses them differently. So just follow along with what Mark um, is doing because he's going to give you the sort of ideal process, but not everybody uses these tools in the same way.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a canvas for you to choose where you'd like to go. So,
Precisely.
so, so I went from any, and when you see any, you'll see we have 4 carrier options listed here. If you switch this over to California, you'll notice that that option changes to 2. Now we're constantly updating this, like Trustmark released a new product in California a little while ago, so we're going to be adding Trustmark to this. So don't take it, like Gretchen said, as the gospel. Just take this as here's a starting place where you can go, especially if you're new to the market or you just want a recommendation. This will kind of kickstart, that discovery process. Now, when you choose the number of employees, we've broken it down into a few different segments. Buddy has between 5 and 49 employees, so I'm going to choose that. And you'll see Allstate is going to be the main option. So actually, this one's a little bit more straightforward because for small groups in California, really, it's the main place to go for long-term care today. Now, you'll also notice that when I was showing any before, again, let me do Allstate, you can see this. You'll see that the plan benefits here 4,500 a month of long-term care, 150,000 of total long-term care. When I switch it over to California, it changes, and you'll see now it shows 4,500 that grows to 14,000. So just in this preview window, in this picture, you can see that the plan design in most states is different than in California. And the reason for this change is that it has that 5% compound rider. So it's one way you can kind of track what's going on is one, this case highlights tell you where it's a LTC rider, an extension of benefits rider, restoration of the death benefit, those 3 features we talk about. But you can also see in the preview window how things are changing before you download it. And Gretchen, if there are questions, I can't see the chat, but I'm happy to answer questions if
I'll
you.
tell you.
Okay. So when I pull this down and I'm looking again using Buddy, our own employees as our case study here, we can read through kind of all the guarantees and the product features. You'll see only in California this 5% compound increase shows up on your PDF. But one of the other things I'm looking at is for small groups. Okay, so let's say we have between 5 and 9 employees. It says no SI underwriting available. So it's only the guaranteed issue amount. Now, one of the things we did because of this is we actually looked to see with Allstate if we could get a special offer for agencies, including ourselves, but also including BGAs in this group. And we did get approved for those that participated a multi-agency offer, which allowed us to get a higher guaranteed issue limit. So normally you're limited to 75,000 with no SI underwriting from Allstate. We were able to get 125,000. And also we could buy up to the SI amounts because we were a part of a larger group collectively. So as you're kind of diving into this, you'll get those questions. Can I do this and this? The answer is this is kind of the most conservative offer we typically see. Like we know we can get this for you from almost every group that we apply. But if you have special situation, your clients are funding it, you have other affiliated groups that you want to enroll them with, we can make the case to underwriting to get a better offer than what you see here. But if you download this and you present this to the client, you will pretty quickly find out if they're interested in this or not. And that's really the key thing to simplify this is start off with this. Don't get into the weeds, yet with getting a full proposal. Get the buy-in of the client, get their preferences, and then we go back to the carrier with the RFP and we know exactly what they're looking to do. And we can negotiate a better offer. But that's how I personally use this. And Gretchen, as you pointed out, everyone's got a different process. That's worked really well for us, especially get over the hump and get people starting to present this. A lot of times we get analysis paralysis and what do I not know about this? But you just have to kind of present the concept and just give the caveat that, this is not an official quote. This is something that we've seen with other clients like you has been able to do. Would you be interested in this? That's really how I would open the conversation. Now, again, kind of continuing to use us as that case study, Gretchen. Once we were able to kind of get approved for this group offer and we liked the terms of the offer, of course, we're offering this to our clients, so we know a lot about this plan. Next step was to get a census, right? So we got everybody's information together. We actually did a Google Sheet, Google document, so we could collect all that data. And two reasons we need that. One is we're going to fund a plan for our employees. So I wanted to know how much it's going to cost me as the employer, right, Buddy as the employer, to pay for it. And what I did was I went to the census quote, and I'm just going to show you an example. So this is not our census data, but just kind of give you an example of how we did this. And I copy it from my census. I put it here, hit escape. Pro tip there. And then there's a little typo in here. I'm going to just correct that. That was just in the Excel file. And it's going to calculate all the ages for us. And also I can select the benefit amount. So we're using the Allstate California offer. How much would it cost us as the employer to pay for this for our employees for the 25,000 benefit amount? And that total monthly premium is at the top. So this allows me to kind of determine, do we have the budget to fund this, commit to funding this for our own employees? And that's the same thought process your client's going through. We want them to fund it. It increases participation significantly in the voluntary side, but there's great reasons to do that. In our case, we're offering this to our clients. We need to own this ourselves, right? And it's really important that our employees have protection. So Gretchen, anything you want to add? And obviously your experience
Yes,
personally.
actually, I have a question. What are those additional columns for?
Great question. So this allows you to select, let's say, the same product, but different benefit amounts. So you can compare plan A, B, C to see how much you may want to offer to your employees or present to your client, so that they can see it. You could do this in real time, like I'm doing on a screen share, so they can kind of work through that process with you. You can also compare it to other products. Now, again, you have to go through Product Buddy first to know which products, but let's say we know that we can get the Chubb product, just hypothetically. You can also pick the Chubb product, and let's say we want to do 50,000 there, and it's going to show you what that costs for Chubb's product. Now remember, the monthly benefit is calculated here, so you might compare monthly benefit versus the face amount side by side to compare the two carriers. But this allows you to do either different plan levels or different products to compare to each other.
Mark, we have a question.
Yes.
Is it best practice to follow up with Allstate to confirm that the rates are accurate?
Yes. So again, this is our estimate of what the rates are based on other proposals we've received. It's not a guarantee that you will get a proposal or that it will be the exact same rates. So make sure that you do get the official quote and go through that RFP process. I skipped that step, Gretchen, on ours,
I
which
know you did.
is we did get a proposal from the carrier as well. And the good thing is that Allstate has filed rates, so it's very likely to be identical to the rates we have here. But there's a couple of caveats. These are non-smoker rates, non-tobacco rates, I should say. And so if you have tobacco users, it's going to be higher priced for this analysis than non-tobacco. One other caveat is they price the birthday based on the effective date of the policy. So if we're enrolling for an 11/1 effective date, which is our plan right now, everyone's birthday is calculated what their age is as of 11/1. And that's what's going to be the case. This calculator is just calculating based on today's date, although this is a brand new tool. So we are going to be adding an extra field here for effective date. So you can plug in 11/1 and it will calculate the birth dates based on the effective date you choose. That will be coming soon. But again, make sure you double check the work here, because again, this is just tools designed to help guide you as estimates, but we can't validate, the accuracy. These are not official carrier quotes or official carrier tools. The other thing that we're doing as well is, we're offering this to certain employees, but also some contractors. And you have to be careful with that because the carriers are really looking for W-2 employees, and they're primarily going to be looking at that. When you're doing ACH billing, they're kind of enrolling them as individuals because we're not doing a payroll deduction, they're direct billing them. So you do have potentially some flexibility there, but you want to make sure that you get that on your census, present that to your sales team for the carrier, and validate what their specific rules are. In our case, we wanted to do a carve out and say employees of Buddy that meet certain criteria are eligible for the plan. So if you want to do that on your census analysis, all you have to do is check the box, and it's going to include an additional calculation of how much it would cost for just, let's say, the 6 top employees that you selected in terms of that total pricing. And again, that's what we're also looking at doing for our employees, is offering it to a certain class of people where Buddy is funding it, and then offering it to others as a all voluntary benefit, as well as any spouses of those employees can add it for their spouse as well.
Mark, can you
Mhm.
can you print this out?
Good question. So again, brand new tool, but it's probably the number one thing that's been requested is us to print it out. So we don't yet have that function, but I'm going to give you 2 ways that you can cope with that, which I'm using every day as well. One is you'll notice that I have this spreadsheet and it's got like a template with blanks in it, right? So you can kind of choose certain plan amounts. You can actually highlight the numbers in here if you drag your cursor over it and highlight. You see how it turns yellow? And you can hit Control Copy, and you can go here and you can paste it here. So if you want to put it into a spreadsheet in your own presentation template, you don't have to just use the grid that I showed you. You can take the numbers and you can copy and paste in a template. Again, you might have to have a little bit of Excel wizardry skills here, we'll say. If you're not comfortable with Excel, I'm going to give you another alternative. So the other way to do this is there's a snipping tool. Usually it's on, your PC. So I have this snipping tool, and you can download it for free if you don't have this on your computer. And if you click new, what this allows you to do is it allows you to do a screen capture. So any way you do a screen capture, and you can save this file, and you can also use that as your print. So Gretchen, I hope that helps, but a couple of different ways that we use every day to print this. But we are going to try to see if we can add like a print feature so you can print a PDF in the future on this.
Okay, so you have your census, you've presented it, you presented the numbers. The employer says, let's go. And what would be next?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to take one more step backwards because I want to show one other resource that I skipped over here as well, which is the one pager itself. We are going to be launching some of these as templates into the marketing section of the Buddy system. So currently, if you go to the marketing section, newly designed, by the way, thank you, Gretchen, for the beautiful new design of this. You can actually download a few different templates. Like this one says small group features. And when you click on this link up here, it opens up a service called Canva, and you can create a free account. So it doesn't cost you extra to get a Canva subscription. I already have an account, so it's going to just say view template. Otherwise, it's going to say create an account at the bottom. It says your template is ready, open an editor. And we have prepared these one pagers that you can edit. So the ones we have in the portal, we're going to be updating to some of the newer templates that you see in Product Buddy. Okay, so just keep that in mind. You'll see this one still has the older image here with the pie chart. The newer ones you're going to see are going to have the new redesigned pie chart on page 1, and then this summary on page 2. The reason why this is important is we all know everyone's clients are different, the offers are different. So you can use this template, or if you know that you have specific differences based on the particular carrier or offer you're working with, you can actually just click into this. And if you double click into this, it allows you to edit anything you want on here. So you see I'm editing pricing. You can edit any of the text in here. Okay. You can add your logo to it. So this has the Buddy logo. We are not offended if you delete our logo and put your logo into the template. These tools are here for you to be successful, to brand it yourself, etc. If you want to print this, you click share at the top and you can download which opens up different options. And what I recommend is using the PDF print option. And then when you click download, it takes the template and it will actually download this to your computer. Voila. So this is actually a template that you can edit and make your own presentation, however you prefer the content to read, however you prefer the design to look. Canva is what it sounds like, an open canvas to design it however you'd like. So I know some of you are going to be hands-on and wanting to do that. Some of you are like, I don't want to touch this technology. We have both options for you, right? You can use the template if you just want something off the shelf PDF, but if you do want to customize it, you do have the ability to do that as well. And thanks, Gretchen and the marketing team for putting all these templates together for us. So how do I personally use these pieces? I'm going to show you a couple of examples. So the one pager, like we just looked at, is great as a concept piece, like you see in Product Buddy. I'm going to pull up another sample here, though. We'll have another template that we're going to be adding that allows you to do a side-by-side comparison. So let's say that they like the concept and you do an RFP and you get two quotes. Let's say you get a quote for Transamerica and a quote for Allstate. You can actually put those into the same type of document so that you can present to the client, here are the top two options and here's how they compare side by side. So I use this quite a bit for finalist presentations. Once the client has already said that they're committed to, offering a benefit, maybe they're already funding it. You'll see at the bottom of this description, it says employer funded estimates. So remember those numbers that we got from the census quoting tool? You can actually just type in the totals here into your presentation. Rather than giving them a breakdown of every employee, you can just give them the totals to kind of summarize that for them. And you have a lot of flexibility. Obviously, this is something you can edit however you want to present it. But I like presenting it just kind of a total cost, help them walk through it simply. We'll also be uploading a PowerPoint presentation. I think, Gretchen, we have that ability now with the new portal marketing section.
Yes.
So this will be another template for you to use. Why long-term care? You'll see we kind of break down a sample, but this is just something you can copy and paste in as a screenshot. Why employer funding? So what are those reasons why they might want to fund it? And then in this case, we just crafted 3 designs and I customized this presentation for a group we were working with that had 800 plus employees, calculated the cost, for 3 different options. And when we went to the finalist meeting, we presented this presentation. So again, trying to make it easier for you to take approaches that we found to be successful, use those pieces and be able to run with this without having to do all the legwork to build this from scratch yourself. I skipped that for our case study because I didn't have to present this to myself to convince myself to do it.
Is this a good place to pause on the tools and bring in Linda to give us her?
Yeah.
We
Well,
can talk to her
let's
about
jump
her.
into
Great.
another case study, and then I'm sure we'll cover some more topics through that process. Good idea. Linda, you might have to unmute though to
All
there you
right, so basically, I have not done the marketing from a perspective of the grand marketing. So my marketing starts when I'm given an agency that has the potential to offer long-term care insurance. And then how do you get the employees and the employer to want to give this gift to their employees, right? So I'm working with the product in California, which is like what I think is the greatest thing that's ever happened in group long-term care. So it's very easy to share my enthusiasm with, with the employers, right? To be able to share with them that this is a unique opportunity that only you get to offer. And we all understand, you go through, you understand the importance of long-term care, right? So we don't have to go through that story. And then it's a question of, this is something that they can fund at just 10,000, for a $10,000 life insurance with a doubler for long-term care. So very inexpensive for the employer to fund. And actually, I put down my numbers, like here, I had some numbers here.
Linda, can I ask you a couple of questions
Yep.
on it? So what size employer were you looking at when you were working with them? Do you know how many employees they have?
This, well, I know that there's like probably like a couple of hundred of very low end paid employees, and then they have 9 reasonably, good paid employees. So
Okay,
the
and so
goal was,
this is the home care agency, right, that you're working with?
right,
So
right,
picture that you have 9 office staff, like the owner and their staff, and you have 200 home care aides that
exactly.
are their W-2 employees, right?
Exactly. So we're going to do it we're doing it in 2 phases. And I think that with any employer, sometimes it's easier to um, work with very small group first, right? And get them through the process and see how easy it is. And then you can open it up to everybody else, right? So, and obviously easiest to sell to people that are already having a gift, because what you're trying to do is get them engaged, right? So even though it's only costing the employer, literally like $7 a person at times to get this person a paid long-term care policy, right? That's what you need, because in order to receive a paid benefit, they have to talk to me. That's all they have to do is talk to me to fill out the application. So, and so we created an email that he would send out that the owner sends out. And it basically says, we are offering you this great opportunity for a paid up free long-term care program. All you have to do is click this button to meet with Linda to complete the application, right?
Mhm.
It will only take you, it's a 15-minute um, uh, Calendly link. So they say 15 minutes, and that's all they have to talk to me, and they get this free program, right?
Right,
And
because
then
it's free because the employer is funding the small level
that
of
teeny
plan,
weeny $7 a month program, right?
right?
But then when they come on, you explain, now this is you've got 15 minutes to reinforce the value of long-term care, which in a home care agency is pretty easy to do, and then to show the value of this product. And in this case, the value of the product is huge. I'm jumping for joy to be able to offer this to them. And I can honestly say that what the way to look at this is you think about what you can afford, and you get as much as you possibly can. You can only get $150,000. That's it. That's the maximum. I said, so, let's look at 150, and you tell me whether you think you could come up with this every year, every month, basically for the rest of your life until you go into claim, because the cost benefit is there. There is nothing you can do better. This is the greatest thing. If I did not have a long-term care policy that I bought when I was 39 years old, I would be buying this policy too. So it is, I'm telling you, I've been around the block. I know this is the best thing you could ever do. And so now it's just a question of how much can you afford? And keep in mind, the premium's going to feel lower over time as you make more money, right? Inflation's going to going to make this money feel like less in the future. But I don't want you to ever stress and say to me, call me up and say, Linda, I need to decrease this because I can't pay my bills. It's stressing me out. It's too high a premium. So the only job that you really have to think about is, what can I afford? And that's what you're going to put into here. And even though that this is the only time you can have guaranteed underwriting, um, if you're still young, there is potential to come back, hopefully in the future, if it is offered, or we can supplement with something else in the future. um, if you, really know that you want more, but you can't afford it today. So,
Mhm.
don't stress if you can't afford the 150,000. We're going to get you as much as you can. Let's figure out what you can afford. So I start with 150, and sometimes they'll say, okay, we can do that. And sometimes they say, ooh, I don't know. I say, okay, let's go down to 100. And usually at 100, they're saying, okay, I can do that. So I don't have anyone yet that has less than 100,000. The vast majority have 150,000. So because it is truly a great product for a great price, and they can't do any better. I explained to women that, in the general marketplace, you're like 35% more, you're in a gender neutral product. product. I mean, this is a win-win-win-win-win. And I'm talking like this to them. I mean, they can hear my excitement in my voice. And I am thrilled to pieces that I can even offer this. I really am. And I thank the employer over and over with them. You are, I can't believe how an exceptional, employer you have to be able to bring this to you. I mean, this is, and how lucky you are to have this. This is just amazing. And they'll all tell me how wonderful their employer is. So, it reinforces the employer, which is really good for the employer. It reinforces, this benefit. It's just a win-win. It's an easy sell if you come in excited and you can start with a freebie that you can then take this $10,000 eensy policy and bring it out to 150 to 100 and 100,000 death benefit. So
That's
that's
great,
my
Linda. Let me give some context, just to step back in terms of how this all fits, right? So by the time Linda is working with this group, she already had the proposal, had been pre-approved, and the employer was sold on the idea of offering it as a voluntary benefit. But Linda came in to help them understand why they should be funding it at that minimum amount and the benefits of doing that for their company, for at least their 9 corporate employees. And she ran the quote for them, right? So they could see how much it costs for all 9 employees, like we did with the census quoting tool. And they saw the total cost. And like Linda said, some of the employees were so young that it was $7 a month. They're like, that's a no-brainer, right? To do that, at least that amount of funding. But because she was able to do that, then she was able to have one-to-one meetings with each of the employees, like she was saying, to buy more coverage. And I think you were getting to this at the beginning where you said, then you can expand it even further to the home care aides if they want to participate, those 200 home care aides. Although you may not do the exact same process as you would for 9 employees, right?
Right. Well, you can't, because we can't pull them in based on the 10%. We can't say you've got this free benefit. But what we can say is, and I've been trying to think about how to plan out in my mind. I was going to put some ages and some prices, and I will start it off with $25,000 of death benefit and $50,000 of long-term care, because that will be a small enough premium. And I'll put ages, 25, 35, 45, 55, 65. And that way it will be enticing to them. And then once they come in at 50,000, or I mean, 25,000, then I can try to help bump them up
Okay.
to the
Are you putting
190.
together your own spreadsheets? Are you using the buddy calculators? What's your approach in terms
Oh,
of
I love the buddy calculator. So I use the buddy calculator with everyone so that we can see the cost benefit. So we see the rate of return, the multiplier of what their money is going to create, the large number that's going to be there when they enter into claim. And so so definitely on a visual, it just makes it a very quick, because we've got literally 15 minutes to get them, to the end, right? So in 15 minutes, if they're a single, I'm writing the app. If they're a couple, they sometimes have to go home just to be able to say, what can we afford? And because they'd like to get their spouses in at least the 40,000.
Right. So Linda's using the landing page we have for the employer to walk them through that calculator. When they enroll with the enroll button and they're going through the e-application and the billing, are they doing that on their own? Are they doing that with you, or a combination of both?
Yeah, so it's a combination. So they have my number. So if they have a question, if any problems come up, they can reach out to me. Some of them have clicked back in to just go through it with me, and others have just done it on their own. So once we do the initial, in that 15 minutes, I walk them through what it's going to look like. I remind them that, little things that could stop somebody. So their identification number is their social security number. And I let them know that number is going to be repeated twice in the application. Once is an identification, once is a social security number. That they're in it, and it's not there now, but there was, a franchise number or something like that. So what you do want to make sure that when you're working in a group, because you have to be fast, you want to go through the application yourself and make sure that there's no glitches. There's nothing that somebody could misunderstand. It's got to be user-friendly, really quick, and you're giving them the answers before they run it. If there's going to be something a little glitchy, or they may not understand the question, give them the answer so that they can get to the end. Because whenever there's a glitch, that 2 seconds that they don't know how to answer a question, you could lose the sale, right?
Right.
Because if it's not easy, they may not come back to it. So you want to make everything as easy as you can as
Right.
you go through the process.
Yeah, and that's one of the big reasons why we built our own enrollment platform and process, because we can iterate that and keep improving it over time. There are certain things we can't change, like some of the carriers' compliance, question language that may be confusing. So we try to, like Linda was saying, help people anticipate what, those blockers might be and help them get through that or answer those questions. But if we can work with the carriers to improve that process and make it less confusing, we're always kind of going back to them and saying, like, do we really need to do this? And we will push back on them. So, Linda, that was the goal with the enrollment platform. Hopefully you had a good experience with it being
Yeah,
pretty
actually,
smooth.
it's getting better. So like I had some questions the first time, and when I sent it in, some
Mhm.
things had already been changed so that it even made it easier the second time.
That's awesome. And it is built to be mobile first, so people can enroll right on their smartphone, for example. We
Right.
see a lot of people enrolling in the evenings after they're out of work, just because it's convenient to do it really quickly with their spouse, like Linda was saying, at their convenience. Also, the system automatically follows up, and there's some other really nice technology so that if they drop off, like Linda was saying, it's going to nudge them, say, like, hey, you left something in your cart here. You forgot to finish this. So just as an aid, but I think nothing replaces you being there to help them, especially with the small groups, like Linda is saying.
Right.
Just meet with them personally, right? Especially if they're buying more coverage, just like a one-to-one consultation. It makes a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah. You always want to be careful, like in groups, the most important thing is to make it simple, simple,
Mhm.
simple, simple,
Mhm.
because um, they don't have time to process. If you make something too complicated, they will not buy, right? So this is not a big financial decision where they're doing financial planning and all that kind of stuff. Totally different sale. This is A or B, so you just want to set it up A or B, that this is, so you want to help them understand this is something they're going to do. It's just a question of A or B, right? Like this is a no-brainer, just A or B. So you've already got them pushing, you just wanted to push one of the two buttons, and then it helps them make those better decisions on their behalf.
Yeah, and I agree. I think a lot of times the conversation should be how much.
Right.
You're self-funding, right? We talk about self-funding versus insurance a lot. Well, let's say you're always doing both. How much do you want to self-fund? How much insurance do you want to buy?
See, I think that's really confusing. I actually think that's even
Okay,
too much at the level of a
at the
group.
group level, that's
As a
fair. Yeah.
group level, at the group level, you're only talking about $150,000 or $300,000 of long-term care. We're not talking a huge amount of money here. So it's
So it's
not
how
about
much
what
do you want to
you,
spend more than
yeah,
anything else?
we don't even get into the cost of long-term care. Long-term care is a lot, right? It's a lot. We don't, getting into numbers is confusing, right? These aren't number
Mhm.
people. It's a lot of money. Everyone knows it's a lot of money. And this is going
Mhm.
to give you a lot of money, right?
That's
Not,
fair. Yeah. So Linda, maybe is it safe to say that your approach with the owner of the business might be different than with the employees? Because maybe the owner is a little bit more numbers focused, for example. You kind of have to
well,
read your
there's
client.
still only 150,000. So,
Okay.
and right. So it's
Sure.
at this point now, the first step with everyone is just get the maximum amount that is allotted. It doesn't matter what the cost of care is. We're not
Mhm.
even close. Just
Okay.
this is a guaranteed issue product. Let's get everything that you want. Now, once everyone is
Mhm.
all set up and I
Mhm.
go back to the owner, then we can say, and we can do it on the anniversary. I mean, we don't even have to, there's no need for a rush or a pressure with these groups. I think there has to be a relationship. So I think
Mhm.
my perception in my mind is this: we get everyone set on the guaranteed. Everyone gets the
Mhm.
maximum of the maximum they can afford, right?
Mhm.
And then we go after the entire company, right? And then on the anniversary, which would be really nice, we come back and we talk about what a great product they have. And let's now talk a little more detail about the cost of care and if you want to supplement the care.
Interesting. Okay. No,
And
that's
that
really
would be my
smart.
thing. You
Yeah.
can't overwhelm the general population. Remember, general population, when you bring up long-term care, typically needs 5 times. We don't have 5 times to go back to them. So
Mhm.
simple, simple, simple. Everything they know, everything just makes sense. Anytime you have to have them process more than 100 or 150,000, you can lose the sale.
Okay, so just going back to what we said in the very beginning, right? It's a starter plan in a lot of cases. This one has 5% inflation, so obviously there's that. But Linda, it doesn't sound like you're even really diving into that very much.
I'm not even talking about a starter plan. It's not a start. To me, this is just a great opportunity. This is your
Okay.
opportunity. Let's take advantage of the opportunity. We can think about everything else afterwards, right? So right
Okay.
now the goal is, this is what you have offered. Let's get everything you possibly can afford with this offer.
Okay.
And then we'll
Interesting.
figure
And
out
then you have the
anything else after
trust,
that.
where they just they're taking your advice because they trust you at that point.
Exactly.
Okay.
I'm just trustworthy. I would never lead
Don't I
anyone
have a
astray.
trusting face? Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
great.
yeah.
Gretchen, I see that you were unmuted there.
Oh, no, 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 keep going. I'm good.
Okay. Okay, so this is kind of a good, like, overall, even though we covered a couple of different groups, right, in our case studies here, the part that I was covering, right, was how to sell the group opportunity. Linda, you did a great job of helping explain how to enroll, right, the employees, because you're really selling the employees on participating after you've gotten the employer to want to do the funding. So that's really kind of cool. And I love the approach that you took where each year you have this opportunity to re-enroll people. So it's not the be all end all, right? It's not like you're going to see them once and then they're going to be gone, most likely. A lot of times they're going to come back and they're going to want to be re-educated on it. You have more opportunities to go deeper, like you said, and do more of that one-to-one analysis. But don't do it the first enrollment. You're saying do it once you have people that have already committed, bought into it, and now you're supplementing the coverage later.
Right. So what I will do, so for those who have spouses who only got 40,000, what I will do is once they're approved and everything is, then I'll go back and I'll say, listen, we had talked that your spouse was only allocated 40,000. Would you like to talk at this, would you like to talk about how we could supplement his policy or her policy?
Okay, great.
So,
Yep.
so that we could do right at the start, and then we could even talk about supplementing both if they want to in a shared way. We can go into details, but we've already got this part done. If you introduce two concepts at the same time, supplementing, individual, oh, you've already overwhelmed them, right? You don't want to discuss individual versus the hybrid versus life with long-term care.
Right.
All too confusing, right? You're just,
Sure.
this is what we have. This is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Just get as much as you can. And then we'll talk about anything else later.
Okay. And your approach may be different depending on whether you're working with a small group, right? Where you have that access, that trust, right? Linda's describing, or if you're working with a large group. And that's again where Buddy's kind of coming in to help you. We're providing the resources, right, for you to, go through that material, go through the enrollment process. But if you're a larger group, you might be working with Gretchen and the marketing team to do more larger scale communications. Linda had mentioned you need like 5 touch points. Well, you might be able to get there through HR, right? Sending out email communications over the course of a few months. So it's not one size fits all, but I would say small group approach, large group approach, just keep in mind that there may be some differences there. Yeah. Thanks so much, Linda, for sharing your case study there and your experience. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just a shout out to Linda because I just emailed her last night and said, by any chance, you doing anything tomorrow? And she was gracious enough to join us. So thank you, Linda.
Oh,
yeah. Does anybody have any questions? I'll just kind of ask that open end or any experiences they have. I know, Steve, you've done a lot of enrollments yourself as well. Let us know. Yeah, because there's not, again, one perfect approach. Everyone's got their own style. And Linda, I think your style works really well. Obviously, the results show, right? And your client testimonials show that they really appreciate what you do. But everyone's, kind of different. And if you do have something different that you'd like to share, feel free to do so. Okay. And Gretchen, anything else in terms of case studies that you think are
Actually,
relevant?
I'm curious. I would love to hear from the group, Jackie, Diane, about how they actually approach finding those ideal groups. I know, Jackie, you're working with several right now. So, can you give any advice to the other folks on the call about how you identify those ideal groups.
Jackie, I see you unmuted, but we can't hear
Sorry.
you. Oh, there you are.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm muted two places. My headphone in that. Since we deal directly with producers, the majority of our groups are coming from people who are doing Medicare, knowing that they're looking for a different, income. Not right now since it's AEP, but the larger an agency for Medicare, they're looking for that LTC. Now, it is really interesting that you guys have this topic. And what's today? Today is Thursday. On Tuesday, I had to do a presentation to an agent I never met before. And another agent I've talked on the phone before. We did a Zoom, right? And prior to that, I went to your website. I went to the exactly what you did. And I'm like, oh, at least I was on the right path. I went and did exactly what you did. I mean, I brought up the website. I opened up all your little different documents to show them because I didn't have the state now I know the number of employees is 200. But I went through that same presentation that you guys just did. And I'm like, yay, I did something right. Because I was going to call you and say, okay, Mark, here we go. This one I feel a little bit more comfortable with. When you're dealing with states, I know that's a different story. But utilizing your platform, your website, the ways that you do things and how you have that separated between group and individual, and the group having the marketing pieces, I was jamming. I mean, I was going through, I just made a whole full page of what I want to go over with them so they can understand it at a higher level. Because this guy didn't know what type of company it was. He just knows he has, from a Medicare perspective, he has a lot of larger businesses. It depends what you determine as large, but 200 employees, et cetera, that are looking for another product other than Medicare. And they're looking for long-term care. So they were specific about long-term care. So most of ours are coming.
A lot of those Medicare agencies and agents are looking at doing under 65 health insurance, right? ACA plans and things like that.
You are correct. And see, we do that too. So the word is getting out, and I'm sure everybody, I'm probably preaching to the choir that group is back again. It's just getting them to understand group is not like it used to be. It's totally different. And I think the positives of, you do have the guaranteed issue, explain to them about employer paid, voluntary, the numbers and how the numbers game goes, how Mark, you guys have the enrollment tool, which means a lot to them because then they don't have to do as much, right? It's just getting that sale. Sent him the census, so he's going to get back the census. I did learn something from the census standpoint. I didn't know I could put all this stuff in here, but that's great, even though I did show it to him. So mine are being pulled from Medicare. Medicare is a big world where they come, and companies that we've acquired, and they were basically Medicare companies.
Yeah, and it's a great example. In the beginning, I was talking about go with your natural markets first. So Jackie's looking at her agents, and the natural market is that Medicare. There's opportunities everywhere, and that's a perfect example of agents that are really interested in long-term care. I'm guessing they probably are doing less on the individual side too, just because, underwriting and all those challenges, and this might fit better with their process.
Believe it or not, they're not doing the individual. These folks have never really even touched long-term care. So that's a good thing, right? I agree with the lady who was presenting a few seconds ago about going back. I think that's fantastic for review. Then also dealing with the spouses. I never really thought about doing that. That makes sense, right? That's when you get into some into some individual type things. But these are individuals that haven't touched long-term care from an individual. They just want it as a group.
I see.
Which is odd.
Interesting.
But they'll learn the individual because there'll be some cases where you can't do it as a group,
Mm-hmm. Or you'll get to some more analytical people that want to compare it to their options there or something like that.
True.
That's great.
But I feel great.
Appreciate that. And I'm glad it's helping you be successful just day to day, week to week. We love it when you guys use the technology, right? We put a lot of heart and soul in these tools, but to see that you guys are benefiting from it and getting sales from it and growing the market, helping a lot of clients, that's really so fulfilling for us. So thanks, Jackie, for sharing that.
My pleasure.
Great question, Gretchen.
Any other questions, guys? Questions, comments? It's a quiet group today.
No, it's good.
Yes.
And again, I know that there's a lot of steps, when we cover these things. Hopefully, doing these week in, week out, you kind of getting more comfortable with those steps. But like we talked about, we're going to keep making it easier, keep putting in more templates, keep making the process more streamlined. So as you go into that portal, you'll see continuous changes and improvements there. But let us know your feedback. What's working for you, like Jackie shared. What are those things you struggle with, and we'll keep trying to prioritize it to make it easier.
Yep.
All right, and then next week we'll have Jason back. So we'll keep
Yay.
on our usual schedule. If any of you though do want to kind of present like Linda did today and be involved, we'd love to have other voices. Linda actually gave a very different perspective too than what we typically talk about, and I think that helped actually probably me and Gretchen think about how we're simplifying it, right? Like maybe, like you said, just don't even have to go into the plan design at all, right? We already have the trust. We're almost overselling, right?
Mhm.
They're just trying to say, what should I do? How do we make it quick and easy? Let me move on, and then later on I'll reevaluate, and when the time is right, I'll kind of get that education I need. So, always room to learn, and really appreciate you sharing. Anybody else though, feel free to let us know, and Jason will have you on, and we can cover some more ways to do it. So, thanks everyone.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Talk to y'all soon. Bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.